Today we explore a topic almost everyone gets wrong. A misunderstanding so deep, so widespread, that it shapes how millions think about spirituality. The topic is enlightenment, and the lie, the one nearly everyone repeats except the Buddha himself, is the belief that enlightenment is some kind of magical state, a final reward, a spiritual trophy you hold forever. But the Buddha never said that. Not once. Not anywhere. And when you hear what he actually taught, everything changes. Your practice, your expectations, your inner dialogue, your relationship with your own suffering. So breathe. Let your shoulders soften. Set everything aside, the stress, the noise, the cravings, the plans. This is your time. And this is Buddha Unfiltered. Please comment below where you are listening from. Let's begin. Part 1: The Lie Everyone Loves. There is a story floating around the world. You find it in bookstores, on Instagram, in meditation retreats, in the minds of spiritual seekers everywhere. The story says enlightenment is a transformation into a blissful being. Someone calm all the time. Someone who never feels anger, never feels anxiety, never feels confusion. The story says enlightenment makes you superhuman, a glowing figure above the chaos of life. But here's what people rarely notice. This story is not about wisdom. It's about escape. The world is hard. Emotions are messy. Thoughts are loud. Pain is uncomfortable. And so people cling to the idea, if I meditate long enough, if I study hard enough, if I follow the right teacher, eventually I will transcend all of this. I will be untouched by life. This is the lie. Not because it's malicious, but because it's comforting. A comforting lie spreads faster than a difficult truth. The Buddha was not selling comfort. He was selling clarity. A clarity so sharp that it cuts through fantasies, illusions, and idealized versions of awakening. He did not describe enlightened beings as untouchable or superhuman. In fact, he described them as more human than ever, because nothing was suppressed, nothing avoided, nothing denied. Where others see enlightenment as rising above life, the Buddha saw it as standing fully inside life, awake, honest, and unafraid. But that truth, that simple clarity, is not glamorous. It doesn't sell books. It doesn't make you feel chosen or special. It doesn't promise a future where nothing ever goes wrong. So the lie survives, the fantasy of enlightenment as perfection. But the Buddha taught something much more real, that enlightenment is not perfection. It is perception, not an escape, but an intimacy with life so deep that escape becomes impossible. Part 2: What enlightenment actually means. Let's go deeper. What did the Buddha actually describe when he spoke of awakening? He spoke of seeing reality clearly, not through the haze of craving, not through the distortions of fear, not through the stories we endlessly tell ourselves about who we are, what we deserve, what we need to be happy. The Buddha said suffering comes from misunderstanding reality, and enlightenment is the end of misunderstanding. Not the end of pain, not the end of hardship, not the end of being human. People imagine that awakening means a life without emotional storms. But the Buddha used a different metaphor. The storms still come. You simply stop thinking you are the storm. Pain arises, but without the added layers of resistance, identity, and story. Fear arises, but without spiraling into self-doubt. Anger arises, but without becoming a wildfire inside the mind. The Buddha never said enlightened beings stop having thoughts. He said they stop being fooled by them. He never said enlightenment is permanent bliss. He said it is understanding, a shift in how you relate to experience. The world doesn't change. Your job doesn't change. Your past doesn't change. Your emotions don't magically disappear. But your relationship to them changes so fundamentally that suffering loses its power. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack for years, believing it is attached to your body. Then one day you discover you can simply set it down. That's enlightenment. Nothing mystical, nothing supernatural, just clarity. Clarity so simple that most overlook it. This is why the Buddha rejected miracles. He said the real miracle is understanding the mind, because everything else depends on it. And here's the part most people struggle with. Enlightenment is not a moment you achieve. It is a moment you recognize again and again until recognition becomes your natural way of seeing. It is a shift in perception, not a graduation. Practice, not a prize. Part 3: Why the Lie Survives. So if the Buddha never taught enlightenment as a magical escape, how did the lie become so common? Because the lie is profitable. Promises shortcuts to suffering. Promises superiority. It promises spiritual status, a subtle ego boost disguised as humility. Entire industries are built around this lie. Retreats, seminars, gurus, influencers, teachers promising transformation they cannot deliver. The lie offers everything the human ego secretly desires: specialness, chosenness, control, finality. The truth offers something else: responsibility, awareness, practice, courage to sit with reality as it is. The lie says, you will become perfect. The truth says, you will become honest. And honesty is far harder than perfection. The lie promises that enlightenment will remove your suffering. The truth says you must understand suffering intimately, patiently, compassionately, to be free of it. The lie says awakening will make your life easier. The truth says awakening makes your life clearer, and clarity is far more powerful than ease. The lie survives because it flatters the ego. The truth survives because it frees the mind. But only one of them is what the Buddha taught. Conclusion: the truth the Buddha actually offered. So let's bring all of this home. Strip away the myth. Strip away the fantasy. Strip away the cultural rebranding of Buddhism into a self-help product. What remains? A truth so simple, so grounding, so real, that once you hear it, you can't unhear it. Enlightenment is not about becoming someone else. It is about no longer being fooled by who you think you are. You still feel. You still think. You still experience life's chaos. But the confusion dissolves. The identification loosens. The world stops being something you fight and becomes something you see. The Buddha didn't give us an escape hatch. He gave us a mirror that shows how suffering is created, moment after moment, by our reactions, our stories, our cravings, our resistance. And in seeing that clearly, moment after moment, the grip of suffering weakens, not because life changed, but because you did, not by becoming someone new, but by seeing clearly the nature of who you've always been. This is the enlightenment the Buddha taught. Not fireworks, not halos, not perfection, but clarity. Quiet, steady clarity that anyone can cultivate, right here, right now, in this breath. If this teaching opened something for you, if it brought stillness, understanding, or even a small shift in how you view your mind, subscribe to Buddha Unfiltered. Leave a comment below and tell me where in the world you're listening from. Your presence here supports this space of honesty and deep practice. Until next time, be gentle with your mind, be awake in your heart, and remember, enlightenment isn't a destination, it's a way of seeing.